Friendly music for your listening pleasure from WVUV, the voice of Pango Pango. Coming up now, number 3 in your all-request program.
When I say I like to be identified as a Samoan, I mean as a native Samoan, as a Samoan boy who is interested in his culture and tradition, but concern of good living and improved ways of living. Thinking of the dollar is a good thing because everybody needs a dollar, and it's nice to have a dollar around so that you can do what you want.
Now, for a long time, the Samoan people were neglected, one might say, or perhaps wisely left alone. I don't know. Their way of life has served them well, far longer than the United States has been a nation. 5 or 6 times as long as we've been a nation. And now we're beginning to move in and make some visible changes in this society. If we're introducing a way of life that brings frustrations, that brings desires that cannot be met, that creates appetites which cannot be satisfied, then I think we may be hurting these people.
.300 miles southwest of Hawaii, a territory governed by the United States. Although a tiny and sheltered society, American Samoans face questions confronting emerging peoples everywhere. In accepting the advances of the West, must they lose their traditional ways of life? How much must they change? And how fast? How willing are the Samoans to give up their kind of paradise for our kind of progress? In a remote village 80 miles from American Samoa's main island, life has thus far been only lightly touched by the outside world. Everyone contributes his share to the family effort, and the family, in turn, looks after everyone. In this lush, tropical climate, it's easy to grow food. The staple is taro. In the future, overpopulation may put pressure on the food supply, but for the present, no one goes hungry. If the sea is calm, there is always the reef and beyond for a wide variety of seafood. Older people are treated with respect, and if they happen to be crippled or blind, they are cared for and remain active in family affairs. Younger children are looked after by their older sisters and brothers, or grandparents. There's a secure place for everyone. More than a generation ago, when anthropologist Margaret Mead visited these islands, she observed that Samoan culture might be able to survive indefinitely as it was if there was no outside interference. For several decades since, the society here has continued to remain stable. People are satisfied, are deeply connected to Fa'a Samoa, the Samoan way of life. The spirit of cooperation, the pattern of work, is as it was. But the changes are now coming. A different order of things, and with this, a new system of values. Some say the 20th century is coming too quickly to Samoa, that an ancient way of life, with its grace and beauty, will soon be a nostalgic memory. A Samoan proverb urges caution in moving ahead. Catch the pigeon, but look out for the waves. Will Fa'a Samoa be engulfed, or will it survive? The most striking change is television, beamed from the main island. It's bringing an image of the outside world to a people who have been remarkably content with the life they have known.
We expect these people to adjust from a way of life that has existed for over 1,000 years, a way of life that served their purposes very well, to our own way of life. And we're trying to teach them that our own way of life is much better for them than theirs.
The Samoans have made their choice between keeping themselves as the Samoans of 102 or 100 years ago and becoming a new Samoan. I think he has decided to become a new Samoan.
Chief Joe Sunia.
I think the time to say whether we want the new ways or not is past. That was the time when you, the white man, first came into contact with us, the Samoans. I think the choice was made right then and there.
A first-rate harbor at Pago Pago on the main island attracted the United States Navy to Samoa in the 19th century. In return for its use, a promise was made to look after the Samoan people. For decades, the Samoans were left pretty much to themselves until 1961, when for 6 years, under Governor Rex Lee, the wheels of progress began to turn. Symbolic of change was a tiny cable car that had put television towers on a mountaintop and now was ready to serve increasing numbers of tourists drawn to a blue-green paradise. A Samoan-style resort hotel has become the distinguishing feature of the town, which was the setting for Somerset Maugham's story about Sadie Thompson. From a Western point of view, exotic Pago Pago is losing its flavor. Here, as everywhere, the native is inevitably going modern. With the quickening pace of Pango Pango, the smiles are said to be less frequent. They have not disappeared. With no history of colonial exploitation, the Samoan has little reason to be unfriendly. But there is a culture clash. An outsider is in almost complete control.
I'm wondering just exactly how some of the Samoan chiefs feel about the family planning program that we have.
Governor Owen Aspinall Jr., successor to Governor Lee.
We started out this program. It went for about 350 women, something like that, and then all of a sudden it was dropped. The next thing I heard in the legislature was that we didn't need a family planning expert on the staff of the medical services department. Because of this, what I recognize to be unrest and uncertainty in the minds of the Samoan chiefs, I asked for this particular meeting. Now, the Samoan chiefs...
In Samoan society, one listens politely, rarely asking the direct question. Under Western influence, this has begun to change.
The program is. That's all I ask.
What is your interpretation of the birth control?
This program is not aimed at controlling the number of children you have. It's aimed at spacing the children so that the mother and the child will have a better chance and be healthier in the future to enjoy themselves.
Over the past few years, the administration has not been able to convince the Samoan chiefs that family planning might be an answer to the problem of overpopulation. However, interest in birth control is not altogether lacking.
Is there any chance of you making a shot, giving a shot to a woman so that you won't give birth to a child anymore?
Yes, there are ways and means of giving women injections to prevent pregnancy. Much research is being done on this in several...
Samoan leaders may be wary of new ideas, but they have eagerly accepted the hardware of the 20th century. Sanitation is steadily being improved, reaching to families in Samoa's most remote villages. Because the general health picture has considerably brightened, Samoa may be more of a paradise than it used to be.
The entire world is changing, and the Samoan has just got to go along with him, with the whole world, and change along. He can continue to be a Samoan, but he will definitely be a different Samoan. Well, I mean, he will be a Samoan who likes to drive a car. Where he used to be able to enjoy walking 1 mile to work in the morning, now he likes to drive the car to work. Oh, he's going to lose I guess the exercise he used to get from walking that mile. He's a different Samoan. that in the next 30 years we're going to get more and more into the Western society way of living. There is no choice. That is where we are heading. I view the change with regret, certainly. But on the other hand, I realize too that the changes have got to be made. There is no question but that we're moving forward.
The tradition in Samoan society is that each individual gives to the chief, who in turn takes care of all the families for which he is responsible. In Pago Pago, the tradition is dying as more and more Samoans take government jobs or work in the fish canneries. Today's wage earner tends to hang on to most of his salary. The saving of money, a recent concept, increases the importance of the individual over the family. To look out for oneself is a trend that is gradually altering life under the old Matai, or family system. One aspect of Samoa remains unaltered. The islands have one of the highest annual rainfalls of any area of the world. A recent hurricane caused extensive damage, destroying a large number of traditional homes called follies. Rebuilding in the traditional style was out of the question. Thatching a roof has become too costly, even in Samoan man-hours. For those whose homes were damaged or lost, the United States offered to help finance the building of a hurricane-proof house designed to retain architectural features of the traditional folly. Samoans began to put up hurricane houses. While the foundations were solid, the financial structure was sometimes shaky.
Thank you. Okay, now, we'll go ahead and approve this loan for $5,000, but you're going to have to get ready to build your septic tank first, then, right? Okay, we'll go ahead and process the loan for you.
Now, Chief, we have been friends for a long time. The same time I'm in business. You must remember this. The bank is going to extend to you an amount which is over $5,000. This is a lot of money. But the bank feels that this is the only way to improve housing in this area. Now, you're going to get a brand new house for you and your family. But one thing I want to make it clear first before you leave the bank today is that this money is allotted by the bank for your use to buy materials. There will be no buying of beers or food. This is only for material and costing. Now, the most important part at this point is for you to remember that this money has to be paid back to the bank. Do you understand that, Chief?
Yes.
Now, in case you fail to pay this back to the bank, it's going to be me, your friend, who will come back to you and ask you to come and talk this business up again. My work as an outside loan collector forces me to explain to the Samoans that I'm there to help them, not to threaten them, to help them educate themselves as to the idea when they borrowed money, they should pay back this money. So I considered my first visit to any individual as a missionary. If there's any way we can help you, then this will clear your name and get your credit reference be all cleaned up. So when you have time sometimes this week, I hope that you will drop in the bank and see me so we could settle this matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. Could I come tomorrow?
Well, if you can bring some money tomorrow.
Well, I don't have any.
Well, nobody has money. Now, when I get out to villages, the most difficult thing that I have is because of the fact that I'm a Samoan, and I feel a little bit embarrassed to face them because borrowing is an unusual thing to the natives. We live in such a way that
I'm sorry to
you just ask a friend next door for something and expect that you don't pay this back to this friend.
This is your hurricane house?
I have not experienced a case yet which I would consider a hopeless case.
You know, Molesi, the bank referred your name to me several times already because you borrowed money to fix this house up and you haven't paid a bit. When can you come and see me so we could get this settled? You know, last time I was here, I asked you to come and see me. You never come up. We loaned this money to you and you should come back and pay the money. Even you pay $10. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Even $10, you come and bring the $10 and pay it, but the money has to be paid back. Good idea. You want to run Pinkos to make some money to pay for the loan.
Yeah.
Okay, can you come and see me so I could call the Attorney General's office and arrange for a license for you to run Pinkos every 2 weeks and pay the money back to the bank? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, you come up tomorrow and see me and see if I can get the Attorney General approve a license for bingo, and you run bingo and you pay the money for the bank.
You see, a guy walks in the bank, all they do is how much you're making and so forth, so they just sign and walk out. But this idea of going out to the village and sit down with the natives and tell them of their obligation, it's very educational to all of them, I'm sure of that.